All right, guys, let's continue with some more new concepts about the Ansible. So, 1 minute, let me share, please. Okay. So, guys, today's topic of the Ansible is very much the I can say the core of the Ansible. Sometime it also come into the advanced topic of the Ansible. Okay, or maybe the complex topic. So let me guys first tell you the name, right? Today we are going to give the entire class of the Ansible to one concept is called dynamic. Okay, and dynamic with respect to inventory. So till date, guys, we are keep on using the inventory in the Ansible. Okay, but whatever the inventory we use till date is pure the static inventory. Okay, but nowadays the way we create our infrastructure, okay, and the way you we create the infrastructure is purely dynamic. Okay, so having the static inventory never gonna help us. So this statement, guys, is very important to know. So it take 10 to 15 minutes to explain you what exactly I'm talking about. Okay, but before, guys, I start this topic, let me first give you some more information about inventory. Okay, then I will come back to this topic again. And the main topic for today is the dynamic inventory. So what I'm doing here, I'm launching one of my instance as a controller node. And you guys know till date, I think multiple examples we have discussed about the Ansible. So I think till date, if you why we are using Ansible, the only um, I can say the main use case why we need Ansible, because we want to configure certain operating system, because Ansible is a configuration management tool. Okay, there's only use. But if you want to configure something, you need some controller node. Okay, and then and the controller node, we have to write run a ad hoc command, or normally we write a playbook, that is a code. But this playbook is going to configure some of our managed node or target node. till guys, okay, but they are not on the actually they are not managing, they are configuring it. Okay, but you I know you know this thing, but why am I again creating this diagram? Because from the controller node, if you want to manage these guys, so it is compulsory in the Ansible, and it but always also logically that you have to tell your controller node where you have to apply or execute this particular playbook. Means you have to tell the IP address. And if you want to tell the IP address, right, so it is also compulsory in the Ansible that you have to put this IP address in a database, and the database called inventory. But till date, guys, if you notice, right, whenever we put the IP address in the inventory, okay, if you guys remember what I always do. So if you guys see here, what I always do, I always go to first of all, guys, I always I either first I install my target node of if this already installed, so I will power on this guy. And after power on, what I always do, I always log into this guy, and after logging to this guy, I check the IP address. I check the IP address, and that's what I'm doing manually. I manually check the IP address, then I manually go to the control node inventory file and update the IP there. Okay, update the IP address. So this is the always, guys, process we are using there. Because we are updating the IP address by checking manually, and what IP we found here, we update this file. So I can say till date we are using inventory called static inventory. And it was working. It was working fine. There's no challenge in using the static file. But there's lots of use cases, especially, guys, if you talk about the today's world. There's a lot of use cases where technically you actually don't know the IP address of the target node. Okay, or technically there is very harder to always go the way I'm again going here. So again go to target node, manually log in. It look like very much slower process, very much manual process. After going manually, just go and check the IP address. And maybe this time guys IP is fixed baby. But maybe there's might be possibility normally after my system shut down and again start, the IP username and password is same, but after the system reboot my IP will change. There might be possibility. Or there might be possibility I'm using this OS, and I'm using this OS for to install, to configure Apache web server, to install some databases, and I use this OS to testing something, to test my application. And after test complete, I terminate this OS. Then again I have to test my application again. I have to again install the OS, and obviously if you again install the OS, IP will change. Or may after shutdown again start, IP will change, because normally we give the IP address to the OS also dynamically. Okay, so technically what I'm talking about, we are into the world of dynamic. Where after system shutdown again they start IP change, or maybe we entirely terminate the OS, or next time when the new OS come up again the IP change. So I don't want to create a setup in the Ansible that I always go to log into this OS, get the IP, and if it change, I will update my inventory. This will be a slower process. Yeah, if you have one or two OS with you for practice, that's okay for us. But I'm talking about the bigger and the complex environment where we have thousands and thousands of OS running. Because nowadays, nowadays, and not only we have to configure the operating system. Now, this operating system may be our virtual machine come from virtualization tool. For example, in my case, it is coming from Oracle VirtualBox. Or maybe OS is coming from the cloud, or public cloud, or private cloud. Like for example, they're coming from AWS cloud. Or anybody who know AWS cloud, whenever you install the OS in the AWS cloud, so every time when you install the new OS, IP change, or maybe after shutdown and restart the OS, again IP change. So OS is same, everything what you configure is same, okay, but IP change. Okay, or maybe your OS is launched from container, Docker container, or they managed by Kubernetes, something like this. So this is the world, guys, where we have hundreds and thousands of container running. In AWS, we have hundreds and thousands of OS running in my account. We never know the IP beforehand, 99.9%. Okay, but I told you guys in the Ansible, without putting the IP in the inventory, thing won't work. You can write the playbook, or somebody will write the playbook for you, but how you apply the playbook without putting the IP in your inventory file? So technically what I'm talking about static inventory won't gonna help you so much in the bigger or the complex environment. Okay, especially the environment where you keep on installing the OS, or keep on reinstalling the OS, where IPs keep on changing. Okay, manually keep on going, updating the inventory won't possible, I can say technically. So I want such a mechanism in Ansible. I want such a mechanism in Ansible where I have same control node. I am going to use obviously the same playbook for configuring certain thing. Okay, but my control node need a IP, and they always get the IP from the inventory file. Now what I'll do, I can make my inventory little bit intelligent. Okay, or rather than I can use the word intelligent, let me use the word called dynamic. This is called dynamic inventory. So let's make the inventory dynamic. Okay, what I mean by dynamic here is, so now guys, now for my inventory perspective, I won't write any of the IP in my inventory. You can think inventory file would be almost null. Nothing is there, none of the IP would be there. So I'm not going to put any IP in my inventory. Okay, why? Because we don't know the IP. I don't know whatever IP will come in the future after we install the OS in the AWS cloud. Okay, or maybe after the OS shutdown, I don't know whatever new IP will come up here. By chance, we are lucky, till in our case class, every time the IP comes same, But IP change, I don't have other alternative. What I had to do in my other classes, I have to manually go to this inventory file, and manually I have to update the IP. Okay, but I can't do in my bigger or the complex world this part. Okay, so I want first of all, I don't write any IP in my inventory file, but I tell my inventory file whenever somebody use you and who gonna use you, obviously the playbook. So whenever on the Ansible command or Ansible playbook command or any other Ansible command, okay, they always come to you. Okay, and because there is no IP inside you, but I want you as an inventory do something else for us. Okay, so before you tell somebody I don't have any IP information, I want you do some explore, or you explore something for me. Okay, what I want, you will go automatically. Okay, and try to explore. Does we have some any or does we have some OS running? How many OS we have? One or 10? And after you explore, there's you can also use one called scan. So after a scan, that now we have 10 OS come up or 100 OS come up. Okay, so what is the new IP of those OS? Okay, maybe last time the IP was 10, but this time IP changed. So whatever the current in this point in time, whatever IP we have, and the total number of OS we have right now in this current point in time, when somebody run the playbook or any ad hoc command, get those IP automatically, or I can say dynamically. Internally update your inventory file. Okay, and after update your inventory file, just provide this information to the playbook. Okay, the playbook, the guy who is running this playbook to me, because for running the playbook they need the host. So whatever information you provide at that point in time, this playbook will go and run over there. The playbook need the IP address, because you guys know whenever you use the playbook behind the scene, behind the scene they use SSH if you're the Linux host, and for SSH we require the IP address. So technically, what I'm talking about, guys, around more than 80, or I can say 90% use case in today's world, our target node, managed node IP address, we don't. They keep on changing. They keep on reinstalling. They rebooting, IP change. The content is there. There's a concept called, anybody who will be the part of my Kubernetes thing, I tell you, it's pure dynamic environment. We can replicate it, we can scale it down, scale out. Thousands OS launch, suddenly we squeeze it. Again we scale it, right? It's purely changing. Okay, so nobody knows whatever IP will come in the future. And that's what we want actually. For by design we want, why we want that design, that we don't know to want to know the IP. There's a lot of reason behind it. But let's say we don't know the IP address. So only the tool who gonna help you is the dynamic inventory. Dynamic inventory, there's a tool who gonna help you, or maybe uh there's one more tool who gonna help you apart from dynamic. There's some tool where we maintain the assets in the company. So like lots of tools available in the market, like Foreman or something like this, but they also use dynamic inventory behind the scene. So there's a different concept. I'm going to that direction, is a altogether different concepts. Okay, but here the scenario that I'm explaining you here is can only be solved by dynamic inventory. That's what I want. So today's topic is guys purely based on dynamic inventory. As per our curriculum, that's called Red Hat 294 training. We have very small discussion on the dynamic inventory. They just discuss this the use, that's all. Okay, there's no such practical or there's no such detailed information about dynamic inventory, but in my class, because for me this is a very important topic for the real use case, so I am going to explain you guys as much as I can in this program, and so at least give you that much knowledge that almost any of the bigger environment use case you can solve, whatever related to the dynamic inventory. Okay, so but before guys I start this topic, okay, I just want to tell you some little bit more information about about just basic information about inventory, because those information we need uh, today to implement the dynamic inventory. Okay, so let me give you some extra information about inventory. Okay, this is the general information. Then we will move to the dynamic inventory. Okay. So, but yeah, one more use case, guys. Even though there are lots of use case of dynamic, but one of the use case also that can only properly solved by dynamic inventory, and this task I had only given to you. So if you remember, guys, one task I have given to you about AWS cloud. So what I asked you to create a playbook, and what I want, okay, this playbook will go and connect to AWS cloud. Okay, first thing this playbook will do, they will uh, install or launch the operating system for you using service called EC2. Typically, you guys know it's called provisioning. I told you that time Ansible is not a great tool for provisioning. Okay, you have to use Terraform or some other tool like this, but we use Ansible. So this type, guys, I have already show you in my class how to provision the OS in the AWS cloud with the playbook of Ansible. Okay, then I ask you, even though almost all the concept I already explained to you, that I ask you whatever OS you launch, because this is a new OS we launch. And obviously, guys, when you launch the new OS of Linux, it's a complete blank. There's no proper configuration as per our need. So I ask you to create one more play in the playbook that will contact to this OS. Okay, and after the contact with this OS, they will go and log into this OS and configure this OS. For example, maybe we would like to configure the Apache web server. So either you can create a separate playbook, or maybe in the same playbook write one more host or one more one more play to configure it. But understand one thing, guys, if you want to configure any OS, okay, your playbook has to first connect to this OS. Means have to log into this OS behind the scene. And technically, if you talk about a playbook perspective, we have to write something like the hyphen host as a keyword. And after host, we have to put the IP address. Okay, and then only we can run the task or create the task. For task would be configure the Apache web server. So either you can create the task or you can apply the role, both the things we guys know. Okay, that's different point. But technically, if you want to achieve this second number task, okay, it is only possible if you want to implement the task only if you know the IP of this OS. Now challenge is because this OS is newly installed either by somebody or by Terraform or by Ansible, somebody newly installed, and because somebody newly installed, we don't know the IP address, or because we don't know the IP address, okay, how we can log it, or what IP we put here, or first of all, what I before you put the IP also, okay, it is also compulsory to go to this Ansible controller node and update the inventory. So in the inventory, guys, we have to write the IP address. Maybe you know the login name here because the login name is fixed in the AWS called EC2 user. Maybe you know the password because you might use your same private key as a password to log in. So you know the private key, you know the username, but every time IP or public IP change. Okay, and because next time what IP will come up, we don't know. Because we don't know how we'll update the inventory. And without updating the inventory, what IP will use here. Okay, so thing won't work. So without connectivity, nothing we can configure. Okay, so guys, this step I already show you in my class how to install the OS. This step also I have show you in my class. Almost everything I show you as a concept wise also. Okay, but between this step we had one more step. Okay, the step is, okay, whenever this OS installed, this point in time, okay, this point in time, whatever IP we have, we have to get from there and update the inventory. But guys, in this step we had one challenge, what I'm discussing here. Let's say you use some manual method, you go to AWS, you find there's one IP 1.2.3.4, you get the IP from there and update the inventory. But you say, no, I don't like I don't like manual method. So maybe somebody who know Python or some other tool, they create some script for you, and this script will go to AWS and grab the IP of this guy, and you will update this file. Maybe if anybody who know file handling in programming like Python, they will update this file or inventory file. That can be done. So technique is like a automatic or like automation. But again, this step also have issue. Issue is, guys, because right now this OS is running, and this point in time, my Python script, some automation script will find the IP for me, and what IP they have, they run the script, they get the IP and update the file. Which file? This file I'm talking about. They update this file, this unit file. Or because they update this file, let's say they update, let's say, IP 155. So anybody who want to check all the IP in your inventory, so you will get this IP. But let's say who update this IP or this IP. By chance, we are the one who written this IP. But let's say my Python script will go to AWS, get the IP, and update this line here. Okay, this look like automation, but not so much useful. Because I told you, after you install the OS, obviously you have to shut down the OS or maybe reboot the OS. Normally, after shut down the OS and again you start, normally whatever IP associated previously, they normally change. Because you guys know IP also come from DSCP, and DSCP normally change it. Okay, so next IP change. But IP, let's say change here 2.2.2, but in my control node we had a older IP of issued instance. And in this case, because you have older IP in your playbook, obviously you run the playbook, it won't work. it means it means as a Ansible playbook, admin guys here who are running the playbook, they always has to manually go update the playbook, or you have to manually go and run the Python code or any other code. They will go and scan the latest IP and update this guy. Okay, so again, guys, here we have some manual thing. Even the Python, we get the IP, but we have to run the Python code. So what can you do here? Okay, I don't want this step also to be done manually, means running the Python code. So, so what is our final challenge? The challenge is I want such a step. Okay, the step is whenever anybody run the ad hoc command or the playbook, they need IP here, or this IP they get from inventory file. Okay, so what I will do and what we want to do, whenever anybody run the playbook, what is the IP that point in time? Sorry, what is IP? What is the current IP associated that point in time to my issued instances? Is this one or this one? So I want my Ansible will go grab that IP, whatever IP they have in this point in time while running this playbook, and update my inventory file. You don't have to run any skips also. You don't have to run any skip by yourself also. Okay, and after the update inventory file, obviously this is the IP we can use here. Okay, but again, you guys know, okay, if Ansible update this inventory file, who will update the IP in my playbook? That is a reason. It is always good practice. Never use the IP in the playbook. Always use a group name. Okay, what I mean by this, when I show the practical, I will explain what I'm talking about this part. But let's say whatever IP we have in the AWS cloud instance, that point in time, while in the playbook, we update this one also. And who update? Everything is dynamically seamless. So anybody who running the Ansible playbook on the live, they go there, get the things and update for you. In this context, if you talk about, there's a right context where you can say, now I'm using a dynamic inventory. Okay, my if no new OS launch or my OS reboot or IP change, any of the scenario, my Ansible control node will deal with the IP inventories. Okay, that is a proper meaning, I can say, the proper meaning of the dynamic inventory. And AWS also have dynamic inventory for Sorry guys, I think we have some small disruption of the network of maybe 1 minute. So let me again discuss. So maybe the use case would be something like this. Okay, maybe initially you have one OS, and that time we know the IP of this OS at 2.2.2.2, either manually or my dynamic inventory update for us. Okay, but maybe afterwards we launch second OS and third OS and fourth OS, and the IP maybe 2.2.2.3, 2.2.4, 2.5, something like this. So I want somebody will tell me now we have four OS, and all the four IP I know, but all the four IP or all the four OS we launch only for one purpose, and purpose is to configure web server. And purpose is after configure web server, I have to put all the OS behind my load balancer. Let's go HA proxy. Okay. So somebody also help you guys. So I can say dynamic inventory has also solve one this use case. So if you technically you are in the Ansible, there's no relation of Ansible with AWS, but in AWS, somebody initially launch one OS, then they launch one more, then one more, then one more. It's called scale. Scale. uh, so if somebody do a scale, it's called horizontal scaling. More OS come up because of a load balancing, right? Or maybe have huge traffic to manage the huge traffic. Okay, so Ansible will take this. Okay, how? Dynamic inventory will go to help. And if we automatically somehow tell the Ansible, okay, that uh, that we have now four web system to configure web server, and these are the IP of four web server I'm handing over to you. So you just run your playbook in all the computers. Nobody gonna tell you the IP. You automatically detect there's four IPs come up, or now it's become two, it's become 10, 10 IPs, and all the IPs range or IP numbers, address, and you just go and configure that. So this is also one of the great use. Dynamic inventory gonna help you. Okay, but the core purpose of the dynamic inventory is without writing any IP in the file, inventory file, on the fly, or I can say on the runtime or while running the playbook, they will find for you. That's the guy's whole and sole purpose of the dynamic inventory. Okay, so let's go for some great demos of the dynamic inventory. But before guys, I will go for the dynamic inventory. I have to first explain you a little bit extra concept, very basic, not extra, basic concept of the inventory that are going to help us in the dynamic inventory. Okay, so let's see guys some concept of the some concept of the inventory. So let me log in first. Okay, so you guys know whenever you run any Ansible command, okay, Ansible guys always check this configuration file here. And this confirm file say, okay, whenever Ansible run any ad hoc or playbook, we will use inventory from this file. And if you see this file, in this file we have manually written the IP address. Okay, so I can say this is the static static kind of file. This is static inventory. Okay, but how to use the static entry? Simple, just create a file, write the IP address, and give the URL or give the path of this file. Pretty simple. Okay, but guys, till date, whatever you see here is, if you want to use any inventory, you have to create a file, or you have to create only one single file, and the location of the file you have to update it. But there might be possibility, okay, you want to create multiple files. Some file contains some other IPs, some file contains some other IPs. So how you can use multiple inventory file in your Ansible configuration file? So guys, simple is right. If you want to create multiple file, every file contain different IP addresses. Okay, so what you have to do, pretty simple. You just create one folder here. Let's say folder is called my my web IP or my my DB. Okay. So guys, why I'm creating this folder? So till date, guys, all the IPs of my target node I'm putting in one single file. Now in this folder, okay, I'll create multiple file. For example, I'm going to create a file called, let's say, a.txt. Okay. In this file, I'm putting the IP 1.1.1.1. That's one. I'm going to create one more file called b.txt. I'm putting the second IP here. Let me create one more file here, c.txt. I'm putting some other IP here, or maybe more IP here. So in this folder, we have three files. Why we have three files? Just maybe for the management. Maybe this file contain a different IPs for databases. This file contain different IPs for web server. Maybe this file is managed by different team. They give to you and you directly copy here. Any kind of use cases you might have, but you have multiple file and all the file have a different IP address. But you want to use all the file as an inventory. Okay, how can you use? Okay, so pretty simple, guys. In the Ansible, you go to your configuration file. Okay, and 1 minute, let me share you these steps. And guys, right now what I'm explaining you is it is not the dynamic inventory. I'm just explaining you some more extra concept about just about inventory. 1 minute, please. Come on. Okay, so just go to your Ansible Ansible config file and say we have one folder. This folder contains hundreds of files or maybe multiple files. So what I want now from onward, your inventory is this file, my DB. That's all. Okay, so if you think you have a lot of files, just put all the file in one folder, and in the inventory, just give your folder name. That's it. So Ansible has a capability. Okay, now wherever you are, doesn't matter, right? Ansible has a capability. Now, if you ask Ansible, do you know all the list of IPs we have? Maybe they are static, doesn't matter, but do you know all the IPs we have? So if you see here, Ansible say we unable to pass this file. Okay, why enable they pass this file? Okay, what is the challenge? So let me go to my DB. We have multiple files here. Okay, 1 minute. So a.txt has the IP, so this should pass, right? Why they don't pass? So they should pass. My dot, this one. Okay, let me rename. I think the syntax actually they have the Palma. So some of the syntax they sorry, some of the extension they doesn't support. This might be a challenge. Yeah, this is guys a challenge, right? So by chance, .txt extension they don't support. So if you want to create any file, create the file without the extension. Okay, so very limited extension they support. They support the extension file with no extension. Okay, or they support a file that has extension called .json or .yml. So some of the extension guys they support. By chance txt extension doesn't support, so I'm just renaming the file. Okay, now let me show you again. So guys, this is just a file, normal file without any extension. Okay, the file, let's just see. Now you would be anywhere. If you run sorry, if you run all, you can see all the files they come up. So if you see here behind this in Ansible automatically go to this folder because we have given this information, and in this file all the files they have they collect together and use all the IPs from this file. Okay, so technically if you have more files to use an inventory, just use one folder, and in this folder put all the file. But this file, guys, what a file you are going to use, that has a limited uh, extension they support. So Ansible behind this in either search a file without extension, or they use .yml, they use JSON, and plus they also support extension dot called py called Python, and maybe some other language they support. So if file has an extension called, for example, I'm going to create a file called m.py. Okay, and let me put the IP here 5.5.5.5. So again, in this folder, I have created one file called my.py. Okay, and this file contains some file IP information. Now if I again ask Ansible, do you know all the IPs we have? So let's see what happens. Okay, so they can pick this IP also because they support this extension. Now the interesting thing come in play. And guys, now from here, let understand some interesting concept. Okay, interesting concept is, there is a beauty of the Ansible is, okay, whenever you ask Ansible, whenever you ask Ansible, Ansible, I am going to run my Ansible command or playbook. So they go to their inventory folder, they look all the file, what are extension they support. So they also support this extension. Okay, and they go to this file, and what are the IP we put here, they extract from there and use it. And guys, use of all, we can use the all keyword in my playbook, also in my host queue. Means if you run the playbook, they apply the playbook in this IP also. That's nice. Okay, but the beautiful thing is, okay, because they support py extension, it means it means what can we do, we can write the Python code here. Okay, and interesting thing is, guys, if you write the Python code, so what Ansible do, okay, whenever you ask Ansible to use this folder as my inventory, or in this folder, as soon as they see py as an extension over here, so they think it is not a normal text file the way I created right now. They think it is a Python code or is a program. So Ansible behind the scene execute this program for you. So you don't have to run it by yourself. Ansible will execute this code. Now it is your programming skills, okay, whatever you write in the code. So anybody who know Python, or anybody who know a little bit about networking also, or plus some concept in the networking called scanning. So there's a lot of scanning tool available in the market. One of the great tool called Nmap. Okay, so you can use Python. Some module also available in the Python, if you guys know, and you can find out from the internet also. So in the Python code, you can write some code. Okay, and when you run this code, this Python code automatically go and scan your network, scan your current network. And what they find all the current IP that is available right now. Maybe after 10 minutes IP change, but when you run this you code again, that point in time, what are the current IP we have, they will find you for you. Okay, so it is all depend upon the Python code, whatever you write in the Python code. Okay, but right now, right now I haven't write any code here. Okay, so it's a pure, maybe extension is py Python. Okay, but this code is pure static. But if you know Python, so this training, guys, is Ansible. We are not going to deal with the Python here, but if you know Python, and after write a code, you can write some logics in the code. Maybe you can use some scanning tool like Nmap, or you can do one more thing. You can do one more thing. Okay, you can write one code. So anybody who know Python code, or anybody who know AWS cloud, or anybody who have a developer knowledge of AWS, by chance a lot of guys over here may be the part of my AWS training. So in my upcoming class, we will deal with the developer part of the AWS, where we are going to discuss about Boto modules of the Python. And this module has a capability through which, using the Python code, we can go to, this Python code will go and connect to AWS cloud. In AWS, they can connect to EC2 services, and EC2 service they can connect and ask all the EC2 services running, oh sorry, all the instances running here, and ask uh, their current IP address. And what are current IP address they have? Okay, my Python code grab those IP. Okay, but interesting thing is, who is running this code? If you run this code by yourself, the IP will come to you. I don't want to have the IP address. Okay, but if this code is if this code is run by Ansible, and why Ansible run? Because you're putting this program inside the Ansible inventory folder. Or because Ansible say this is the py file, so Ansible always run for you whenever run the Ansible ad hoc or playbook. Or because Ansible run Python code, so Python code will do the things whatever you write in the code, maybe scanning the local network, or go to DigitalOcean, go to Oracle Cloud, go to AWS Cloud, go to XYZ Azure Cloud, maybe OpenStack, or maybe Kubernetes. They will go and retrieve the IP address, give you back, but they will give to they will give to Ansible, or because it will give to Ansible. Okay, so Ansible will treat these IPs as the not the normal IP. They treat these IPs as the inventory IP. So technically, what is happening? What is happening? This point in time, if your OS has IP 6.6.6.6, so Python will get this IP, and they give this IP to Ansible. Ansible use this IP on the fly. Or maybe after a certain second, IP change, and next time if you run the Ansible playbook again, they will update the IP. So guys, this is the way it works. So technically, what I'm trying to tell you guys here is, technically, if you want somebody give Ansible a new IP of the OS, automatically it's called dynamically, then you have to use dynamic inventory. Or technically, dynamic inventory means we don't have the inventory, but they create on the fly. Right now, if you see here, the IP5 is there because I've written somewhere. But in this file, if you don't write the any IP address, but when I run my code, they will go somewhere, grab the IP from there, whatever they have, and give it to you as output. So because guys, when you run the any code will give the output. Like in Python, we use print function. The print function will give the output. And what output they give you? They give you Ansible will use that output as input of the IP. So you can see without typing any IP here, they automatically grab this IP from where depend whatever the code you write in the Python. That is the reason, guys, is called dynamic inventory. And that's what we want, because we don't know the IP, and I want my Python code will dynamically get the IP. But for this, for the dynamic inventory, I think now you understood the prerequisite. You have to write a Python code. You have to write the Python code. Or I can say you have to use the Python code. Some other language they also support, like shell scripting you can also use. Uh, but you have to use certain language code, because language has the capability to go somewhere and get something there from there. Okay, so for the dynamic inventory, you have to use certain programming language. But normally, because Ansible is built purely on the top of Python, so normally in the market, almost everywhere, 99% we always use the Python code for the dynamic inventory. But maybe if you're admin or IT guys, mostly maybe sometime we are not so much comfortable with the Python. So you can ask your some of the Python developer, they will create a code for you and you can put here. Or maybe because Ansible is now become so much popular, okay, and connecting with the AWS cloud, connecting with GCP cloud, connecting to Kubernetes, it's become so much famous, so much famous that you don't have to create a code by yourself. A lot of community guys has created this code and put somewhere on the internet or put somewhere on GitHub. Just go there and download it and put it over here. That's all. That's the only thing you have to do. Okay, put it and they will use it for you. Okay, and obviously because you are getting the code from somebody else, so code will same, but you have to just tell your account username password of your AWS or GCP. That's the only thing you do. Otherwise, everything in the code will do for you. So technically, anybody who know the coding of AWS or respective tools, you can write the Python code. But obviously in this training, we are not going to deal this part. But this part you should know what I'm discussing to you. Okay, but I just want to show you some small demo of the code. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, okay, before I go and download the code provided by some communities guys, okay, communities guys provide this code of, for example, AWS. let me give you a little bit more idea. If anybody who are interested in writing their own code, because Python code maybe somebody know over here, okay, but okay, uh, if you want to use a Python code, this file that used by Ansible, so they use certain format. What I mean by this, let me show you one demo. You understand what I'm talking about. To showing this demo, okay, right now what I'm doing, due to some reason, I'm taking the IP of my controller node. IP is 129, and I'm using putty to logging to the system from my Windows because to copy some data here and there. Okay, so 129 and 1 minute, please. So this same controller node, nothing, no difference here. Okay. Right now, if you ask Ansible about all the list of hosts, these are the 4 5 IPs we have, and they pick pull from here. Okay. But right now, guys, we know this is a Python code, but Ansible doesn't know. They only see the extension. But if we write any any Python code here? So by chance, if you know Python, there is a function called print, so we can put in the print function. So this is a guy's Python code. Okay. And because the Python code is always good practice to tell the cbang here, means which interpreter you're using here. So I'm using Python version 3. Let me check, does I have this interpreter or not? Python 3, which, so this interpreter I have here. And that's what I've written here. Okay. Now, same folder, same file. I just write some code, and my this code, when somebody write my code or run my code, I'm running my code manually. They give me the IP. I don't want to run manually, even though program make the thing automate. But I don't want manually to run my Python code. They go to AWS. I want when I run any Ansible command, they will run for us. So let's say, guys, when any Ansible command we run, are they running the Python code or not? Okay. Yes, they are running, but technically they are not doing what exactly we want. Okay. What we want, I want Ansible will run this command behind the scene for me. This command. Okay. And when they run this command, okay, Python give the output, and whatever output Python give, it feed inside Ansible, and Ansible show me only the IP address. But what Ansible showing me, they are showing me actually the entire code. Okay, I don't want this. It means Ansible is not properly able to execute my Python code. That is the thing, is the thing is a normal string, and they get the entire string and show me here. Okay, one of the reason is because, guys, if you want your code to be executed by somebody else, like in this case Python code is executed by Ansible. Okay, so in this kind of scenario, you have to make your code executable. And guys, this is one of the scenario why we have to make our code executable. You can say X come up, green color come up, executable. So this is one of the things you have to do here. Okay, but now let's see what happened. Again, let me run my Ansible all, and let's see what happened. So my intention here is Ansible will automatically go to this folder and execute this code. And if this is happening, what you will see, you will see IP come up. Again, guys, IP is not coming up. But yeah, if I run my code by myself manually, output is coming properly. But if I'm asking Ansible to execute for me, okay, it's not running. And why Ansible is executing? Because this is the folder we have given to Ansible, and Ansible go to this folder and see all the file. But technically, they are not running for us. If they run, my output should be not this line. Output should be 5.5.5. So why this? Ansible know this is a Python file. Ansible know how to run the Python code. But the only challenge over here is, right, if you want to tell Ansible this is the Python file used, and I want I want you use this file as a inventory file, and whatever you have, run it and give me the output in normal IP format. For this, Ansible use certain format of the Python code. Okay, and what is that format? So it is been given by the Ansible to use certain format of the code. Format means here, okay, if you guys print something, don't print in this way. Or even though guys, in the Ansible, okay, IP is one of the part of the inventory. In the inventory, we have to give the username, we have to give the password, private key, connection names, sorry, group name. Okay, so technically, if you think you want to use this Python code as an inventory, okay, so how Ansible come to know this is the IP address, or this is a username, or this is the group name? How they come to know? So Ansible say if you are using this code, Python code, so I'm giving you certain format, something like this, for example, IP colon this one, or maybe let's say username equals to root. Okay, something like this. This is not the actual format. So Ansible say, so if you want to write a Python code, and this Python code you are writing some coding, this coding is scanning your network to find the latest IP, or maybe your coding is going to AWS cloud to get the EC2's current IPs, EC2 current IP address. What a code you write, or any of the business cases you write, or logics you write, I can say there's a writer wide better word. Okay, whatever you scan in the network, whatever the IP you retrieve from the issued instance, right? You have to put the IP here, put your key here, but my this keyword, it always be IP, it always be user, it will always be username maybe. So Ansible say this is your logic, whatever you want to write here, but final output, whatever printing, should be something like this. For this, not obviously the exact format, I'm just explaining you the concept. You have to use a certain format like this, and from this format, when you run me, when Ansible run me, Python give this format as output. The answer behind this in automatic will go and look what they look. If Python give IP equals to this one, so they will retrieve this IP for you. They give me username is this one, so they will use this username to log in, or may password to whatever they give you here. Okay, so technically what I'm talking about, Python code wise, they are exactly the same. Okay, the final output given by your Python code to the Ansible should become in some kind of predetermined or pre-formatted syntax provided by the AWS. So one of the example guys for this kind of code, so what I'm doing here, so in my GitHub, I have shared you one example for this. So this guy is one of the example I have here in my GitHub. Okay, so this code might not be so much so much um, uh, simple for those guys who don't know so much about the Python, or especially about the Python classes and ops concept. So don't focus in this code syntax wise much. The most important thing about this syntax is this part. Okay, so first of all, guys, let me download this code. Okay, so I'll share this link to you. You can also download. So this is the URL I'm sharing to you. It's a good example to practice and start your further Python code if you want to write your own code if you want. It's not important here. So I'm guys downloading this code, and if you want to download anything in your OS, um, from URL you can use wget command. Okay, so wget command guys has downloaded this file. Okay, now what is the great thing about this file is a pure Python code. It started with Python, but this is some great example for dynamic script from the Ansible. Okay, what guys I write here, that is not at all important. The important thing in the last. So Ansible is saying if you are using Python, when I run you, you have to give me the output. So normally you can think as written is a keyword of the function, they give you output to you. but whatever output you're giving to me, it should be in certain format. Okay, the format is, you to start with your group name, the way you write in your normal inventory file, your group name, then curly braces. Inside the group, what you write, guys? You write your IP addresses, you write your username, you write your password. So all the IP addresses you write after the host keyword, then colon, 1 IP, 2 IP, 10 IPs. Okay, and all the username, private key, your password, any other values you can write in the whereas keyword. Okay, this is syntax I follow. Okay, if you write, if you ask the Python to give you to give you the output. Okay, this is syntax I follow. Okay, and one more important thing is, okay, that Ansible say I follow is whatever code you write, right, whatever code you write. For example, this code is written. Guys, don't worry so much about this code. I know most of you guys doesn't know Python, or I know almost everybody don't know about the classes and all the concept of Python. So that is not important. We are not in Python training, but I'm just giving you. I told you, if you don't know Python, you have to ask your Python developer. They will create for you, and you have to use it. Even though I'm just trying to explain some extra concept also, so you can guide them. Okay, what kind of format you have to use. By chance, this is called JSON format. So JSON format you have to use here. Okay, but even though they write the code, obviously you have to run the code. You have to make it executable first of all. But guys, whatever code you write, or the guy who write this code, okay, write this code. When you run this code, normally guys, this is a way we run, or maybe you can use Python 3 as to run this code. Okay, this code, when you run this code, normally like this, okay, this code shouldn't give you any information. Okay, but so you have to write a code in such a way, okay, or your developer has write a code in such a way, whenever you pass any argument to your code, and the argument fix hyphen list. When you pass this argument, okay, why is fixed? Because it's written in the Ansible. You can think Ansible behind the scene run this code by this way. Ansible doesn't show you, but they run this code behind the scene by using this command. You can think this way. Okay, so if Ansible say, if I run this command behind the scene or execute a code behind the scene by passing this argument, okay, so output would look like this: your group name, then host, all the IP address, then vars is a p11 keyword with all the Ansible login and password and private keys and private other things also, or maybe variables. In this way, you have to give the output. If you create your Python code in this format, okay, whatever you want to write, how to connect to AWS with Boto, or with Oracle Cloud or Google Cloud or Kubernetes, that will be your extra knowledge. But whatever you retrieve from there as information, you have to present me. Ansible saying you have to present me Python this information only in this format. So this, you can think this fixed format. What you do, you have to just use this code, okay, and update this information. So anybody who know Python, it is a list. So if you go to AWS, whatever IP you collect from there in Python, put the IP here. Okay, or some other things also. So this is a, you can think this is a pre-created template of the uh, Python dynamic entry file. Change accordingly, some write extra functions here, and it will do the thing for you. Okay. Now, technically, this is a template. I will give this URL already. I have given this URL to you. You can just use it. Only thing that you have to do, okay, because this Python code is developed by some other developer, or maybe developed by me, or I've downloaded from somewhere else. Okay, you have to put this template, or I can say this Python file into your into your inventory folder. That's the only thing you have to do. So some of your developer has created this. You have to just copy here. That's all. Okay. So guys, if even according to a book, this is the only demo they show in the book. Just copy the file. That's all. And even though if you go to 294 examination also, they give this file pre-created. You have to just copy it. That's all. Your caution done. But here I'm just trying to show you in very detail what exactly happening, how you prepare, and all the process to you to so that you can also, maybe in the future, you can try to create it according to your environment. Okay, but technically you have to copy here, that's all. Now what you will see here, just by copying this file, now wherever you go and run the Ansible this command. Now the beautiful thing of this command is this command will go to this folder, because I've told Ansible this is the inventory file. They see this is PO file because this is executable with chmod command. They run it, or because they run it, and this file, because behind the scene give the output in this format. So Ansible understand this format. And now what happened when I run this code, you see the difference. You can see, guys, because this file behind the scene give this file, give this file give the output in this format, and they give two IPs here, 71 and 72. So according to Ansible, they get the IP very clearly. Or Ansible only understand the IP in this format only. It means it is a proof that this file is running. Otherwise, how they get it? Okay. By chance, again, in this example, if you talk about this file, if you talk about this file, okay. So by chance in this file, guys, I have put the IP again manually. Again, it's like static. So maybe this is a Python code, but technically it is again a static inventory. Okay. But because now this is a Python code, now we can write some more functions here, some more code here. They will dynamic scan my network or AWS cloud, get the IP there dynamically, and update here by putting some variable here. That's all. Just writing extra code, your same file become same file become a dynamic file. but but the way you wanna use it will be same. You have to put the file here. That's all. Okay. So guys, this is a core idea how dynamic inventory work. Obviously, we don't can't write the code here, but the good thing is, by chance, who's there in my AWS cloud, after you learn multiple code of AWS Boto, you can put your code by yourself here. Okay, but don't worry if you don't know the coding of Boto or AWS or other cloud. So uh, communities, guys, of of the Ansible has given us pre-created this kind of files per use case wise or per platform wise. What I mean by this, so I have one more URL here I have opened for you. I think this one. Yeah. So this is the, guys, URL from if you see, from the Ansible, from the contributors for the inventories. Okay, so I'll give this URL to you. Okay, so what you have in this URL, okay, almost all the platform where you can think you have to ask the Ansible go and dynamically pick the IP, they have created this script for you. Okay, so they have a script for Abstract, they have a script for Cloud Forms, very powerful tool. Very powerful tool. This tool was belongs to Red Hat. um, and this is one of the reason why IBM took Red Hat. Right now, this tool is belong to IBM. I've worked a lot in this tool. Great tool. Cloud Stack, Cobbler, okay, console, powerful tool. Docker, Digital Ocean, EC2 that we are looking for. Foreman, GC Cloud, Landscape, almost LXD, or whatever you know, OpenStack, right? Azure, all the things you can find here. Or if you don't find any of the inventory here, or one the technology name here, where you think you have to ask Ansible to go and pick the IP, you can find in the Google, some other Git or other URL, you can find this script created. So let's say if your use case is AWS, okay, so you don't have to know much about the Python code, and you should know, you if you don't know about even the syntax also, don't worry. Somebody has created this code for you, EC2 PY. It's a dynamic inventory. Just go here and download it, use it. That's all. So if somebody created this entire code for you, you don't have to worry about. Okay, entire code. Even though if you try to see here, they also use Boto 3 that I was talking about. But the entire code they have given to you. And if you finally see the output again look like what I'm talking about. But if you see the code is very big, there is a reason big is they have to go to AWS and connect to issued instances, grab their current IP address, whatever they have, okay, and print to you. Okay, so that is the thing, guys. This is a big code, and it's not AWS. They have used for other things also in the AWS. Multiple services they are using. Okay, so this reason is big, but technical wise, this code is doing one thing for you that I explained to you. So what I'm doing here, I'm just downloading this code. Click on row, click this URL. Okay, and because we know we have to use this, we have to always put the code in this folder. So I'm downloading directly here. Okay, and let me make this code executable. That's all. And this are always good practice. If you want to use this code, just properly check it, it's working or not. And how we can check. Simple to run it, right? I can run manually. Either you can run this way or you can use Python 3 ac2.py to check it. Okay, this is working or not. One minute. So I run this, it failed because, guys, the guy who write this code, they say this code is written on Python, and in the Python they're using a Python library called Boto. Okay, so if you guys know about Python, there's a pip3 command, right? This command will tell you all the library that you have installed in your computer. So if you search here, I don't have any library called Boto. I have Boto 3, but maybe the guy who used this library, they use a Boto version, the old, little bit older version maybe. Okay, so I don't have this library, so I have to install that. So I can use pip3 install Boto. So I'm doing, because this library require, they give the error. So very basic concept of Python we can use and install this library. Or maybe in some of the document they might say you have to use Boto library. So normally in the document also they say this. Now this library installed. Now if I try to run this, now this time they fail. Okay, this time they fail, and why they fail? Okay, one of the reason they fail is, right, and it is but obvious. They fail is, they say, um, uh, the way we have created this one. Okay, I told you guys we have to always pass argument called list. Okay, even though they fail. Okay, and one of the one of the reason they fail is over here is okay, one minute, guys, there might be one more other reason also. Yeah, one of the guys reason they fail over here is maybe there might possibility they doesn't use Python 3. They might use Python 2. Okay, there might be possibility. So guys, that's the reason, guys. If you don't want to confuse with which version they are using here, so always run your Python code or any other language code in this way. Thoughts less, right? Okay, this might be reason, or maybe the other reason also. Okay, so by chance I don't have Python this version set up. So what I'm doing, just small change here, even though you don't have to change this, because this code is finally going to run by what I say, Ansible. Just for testing, I'm just showing you here. Let me change this. I'm changing USR bin Python 3. Okay, let me change just to check. Okay, because in my system I have this setup. Yeah, so this error, I think this is because of one reason, that I haven't set up yet. Maybe this because of one reason. So technically, okay, let's say this is working. Okay, the challenge we have right now here is, right, technically this Python code either written by you or written by somebody else. So what this code is doing, okay, this code behind the scene connecting to your AWS cloud, okay, and try to retrieve all the IPs from there. Okay, from issued services. Okay, so it is something like this. Let me go to my AWS cloud. So this command behind this and connecting to this URL, you can think. Okay, logging to your account. And anybody who know AWS or this kind of system, so you guys know whenever you run the code always connecting the API. Okay, but either the connecting API or web UI, internally they have to log in with login name and with some password. And I told you guys in my last class also when I showed you the demo of AWS. So when you use any login and password, right, you have to use web UI. But if you think any Python code or is connecting, they use API, and for the API they use a different login and password. But technically what I'm talking about, okay, when you use this script, if they are going to AWS, you have to provide three information at least. First information that you have to provide is compulsory. After you connect to AWS, which region you have to connect. EP South 1, Mumbai, or which region you want to connect. The first information you have to give to this command. Okay. Second information you have to give is but of Wes of Office of Security, my login and password. Okay. And obviously, guys, if you don't give the login and password, how they connect to each instance and how they use it. So this error may be because of this. Even though if you go to the document also, they tell you you have to provide the login name and you have to provide the password. And you guys know in the API, we always give the access key and the secret key that you have to provide. Okay. And for providing either either you go inside this file and somewhere in the code they are using. Okay, just update the code. Okay, update the code, your region name and the login and password. Okay, either you do in this way or you can do one more thing here. It's good practice, guys, because the code is written by somebody else. So they always guide, don't go inside my code. I'm giving you alternative way to provide the login and password. What can you do? So this is your command line. In the command line, you can create a variable. Okay, and the name of variable this one. So when you run my code, I will automatically get the login and password from this variable. So that's what, guys, we are doing here. Okay, but for this, you should have login and password. So what I'm doing, guys, for doing this demo, I'll create I create one login name and password here. So anybody who know AWS, okay, you can go for a service called IAM service. IAM service. And this, guys, we already discussed in my some of the class in Ansible when I show the demo of Ansible connect with connect with AWS. So I'm going to create one user here, add user. Let me give the name of the user is Vimal. Okay, and I'm going to connect with the user with my programmatic with the API or command line. So go for programmatic access. Okay, and then click next. By the time I'm giving this user a power. Okay, and I'm giving some user power. So that is not important, but I'm giving some power so they can connect and have some power and permission to do something in my account. Okay, and click and create. So here they give me a username, access key, that's called. So I'm going to use this access key. But I have to provide this access key to my code, either open the code right somewhere or or my this document say, okay, just use the export keyword to create a variable in the command line. Okay, put single quote and whatever password, so username you have, it's called access key, copy it. Okay, this is the one thing you can do. So when I run this code, I will get this username from this variable. Okay, because by chance anybody who know command line, this is the shell variable. But any other program who want to use shell variable, that is the reason we have to export this. Otherwise, other program won't able to use this code. So Python is going to use my shell variable. Okay, and one more thing I have to set here is my password. Is my password. Okay, and password, guys, is this one. This is the password I'm going to set here. And what I'm doing, nothing, just clicking on the password, copy, presenting here and sharing. Okay, that's all. I'll share, guys, this command to you. Okay, but I'm not want to share here because I don't want to misuse my account right now. Okay, so this password set. Okay, but one more thing, guys. Obviously, you know, if you want to use this login name, okay, and password, and why are you using this? Because you want to use EC2 service. Because you use EC2 service, okay, so you tell which region you want to use. So if you think you want to use Mumbai, so you can use Mumbai region name AP South 1. Okay, so set here. So for this, I think there one more variable you can set here is called AWS underscore region, RIGUN equals to AP South 1. So this is one more thing you have to set it. So I've shared this free information over here. Okay. So now whenever any Python code for AWS, and guys, this is not for the actually for Ansible only. Even though if you write normal Python code for AWS, okay, either inside the code you can put your login and password or region name, or you can command line also you can pass the login and password. This is a very common concept in the Python for the Ansible connectivity. Okay, so this is a very thing. Now, if you run any Python code for the Ansible, they will do something for you. Okay, so what I'm doing here, because you guys know whenever you run an Ansible playbook or Ansible command, they will run all this file for you. But I'm interested in this file. Because I'm interested in this file, just for demonstration, let me remove this file. I don't want these files, right? So I can see what exactly come up. So I'm letting me remove all the files A, B, and C. So I have one single inventory. Okay, and let me run my Ansible code. Let's see what come up. Okay, actually what I'm looking for, what I'm looking for. So obviously, guys, this code gonna connect to AWS Mumbai. They will log in with this login and password, because this login and password belong to me. So they connect to my account. They will go to Mumbai where I'm, and they will show you all the instances that are running. Okay, and right now I don't have an instance running. So what I'm expecting here, okay, and because this all keyword we are much interested in, not to knowing the OS, knowing the IP address of this OS. Okay, so what I should see here, because there is no OS running, so there will be no IP come up. Okay, so there might be a lot of warning come up. Okay, uh, that's okay. Main thing is this one. Okay, so um, they say we don't have any inventory. And this is also a warning, because there's a small region of the warning, because Python code is developed by some other developer or other Python language. They're using a different board to 3. I'm using different board to 3 version, maybe Python. Their Ansible version may be different. So small warning might come up. If you know Python, you can just go and uh, update this. But technically, there is no error come up. Or I can see the total number host. Okay, overrunning, running over there. Okay, sometimes we have to fix it also. There's a different point, but there is no error come up. Okay, now uh, now what can we do? Just to check this, I'm not pretty sure the practical is properly done by us, but to check this thing is working or not, so I'm manually launching the instance, okay, to save our time, because you know how to launch the OS using Ansible. You ask Ansible code, they will launch the OS for you. But I'm doing manually launching the OS, because intention here is to not to launch the OS. Intention here is, if OS is launched by us or somebody else, or by Terraform or by Ansible, we don't know the IP. Okay, and because we don't know the IP, I can't update my any of the inventory file. That is the reason I'm using this code. So this code will go and get the IP automatically for us, dynamically for us. Okay, so that is my intention. So for doing this thing, I'm launching this OS manually. Okay. So maybe you guys know how to launch the OS. I'm making public IP, because that's what we need. And let me give the OS. And guys, here, anybody who know AWS, maybe they feel this page is not so much critical for us. But now you will see, okay, this tag is so much critical for the dynamic world. Without the tag, without tag, uh, we can't do much in the dynamic world. So it's very critical. Okay, what I mean by this, I will explain you. So, but let me give the tag name called, let's say, Linux World Web OS one. Okay, this is a tag I'm giving you, going here, and let me give one more tag here. The tag is just a tag, right? Just one OS launching. I'm just putting some stickers there, tags there. I'm putting the tag here called country, for example. Okay, country. Let's say country is India. Let me put one more tag here. Let's say in India we have one multiple data center. So one of my data center is in South. What? Okay. Or let's say in India we have multiple team. One of my team member is called technical support team. So this OS has multiple tags, very much useful for useful useful we have for having this tag. What I mean by this, I might discuss in some time. Okay. Security group, now it's also important. Let me allow all traffic from anywhere. Again, this is not so much important. Let me launch this OS. Again, now guys, consider that this OS launched by somebody, or Ansible core launched right now. And guys, if you see here, I don't know any IP here of this OS. No IP. I don't know. Even though I don't require to know, even though I don't have to go there manually grab the IP. For example, right now this OS is launching. I don't have to manually go and grab this IP. You don't have to do anything else. Okay. Okay. Or maybe you know the IP after certain time minute, IP might change. Or after some certain time some more news come up. Okay. But you don't have to worry about. Ansible has a capability. I have to maybe check my code. This is not my code, download from somebody from the internet. Check the compatibility of my code with this OS. But when I run this Ansible all command, and you guys know all is like a, if you run Ansible ad hoc or playbook, everywhere they run this this command for us. They will go to your current account. They will go and grab the IP and show to you. Okay, they're not showing you because I don't know how this code might have some error. Kind of double to import, same error is keep on coming. Okay, let me try to install one more version of maybe Boto 3. They might update. I don't know which version they use. No, they have the updated version, but I don't know which version they are compatible with. Okay, so this is the one thing. Okay, one more thing you can do. There's one more file you can use. I don't say because of this file this is challenge, but let me use this file. Okay, so guys, here if you see, there might be possibility because of this file, maybe. Normally as such we don't require, but let me, I already opened one file for you. Okay, this is one more file. Okay, so if you go to this URL, the URL that I shared to you. Okay, here if you see with every platform, okay, they come with one more file called ini. Okay, so what's use of this ini file, let me show you. Okay. Very, just a minute, let me very quickly check. Maybe they are using this file. Maybe yes, let me check. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm just copying this ini file. I'll show you what is use of this, and wherever you are putting your main code, download the file there. On the file there. Okay. I think this maybe this code might be using this. You don't have to know this, just read this document they written, uh, what exactly they're doing. Okay, now let me try my code. Okay, again I think they are using it, but there is some closing code issue, cannot import. Okay, Oh, 1 minute. This is the actual exit. So I think this code was running it. Somebody also tell me here in the chat this code working good in version 2.9. Okay, in 2.10 we are facing this. Okay, so maybe some part I have to change in my code. Okay, let me check very quickly. They're giving some warning in line 172. So 172. Okay, they are using this module, or technically, guys, maybe they don't have this module. 1 minute, let me very quickly check if we can very quickly fix this. Let me open one more terminal. So anybody who know Python, I can manually launch Python 3. Okay, and let me import this module. Yeah. So they are saying we don't have EC2 module available. Okay, so import EC2 is not available. So maybe let me comment this. Maybe they're not using this. Let me check. Guy, I'm randomly doing this. Is not obviously this is not a good practice to manually comment like this. How do you read the code if it's not created by you? If you're using somebody else code. Now look at something they are doing. What I'm expecting here, what Python Ansible is doing, Ansible go to the conf file tell this is the location where you have the inventory, and and the inventory they find this file, they are running this file, and they're waiting for the output from the AWS cloud. Okay, and whatever output they get, they will present to you. Okay, they're going to AWS cloud and fetching the output. Let's wait. Normally there's some second to get the output. Normally, okay, but this is the guy's entire uh, entire code. Somebody also saying just comment line number 172 and it was working good. Version also we have. So by the meantime, I'm also manually running this code. Sorry. So my DB, and this exact code I've written, I've tested my other class. Why they have this error? Because in this terminal I haven't put my user and password. So 1 minute, guys. Let me copy my username. Let me copy my password. Let me copy my. They're going to my AWS cloud. Technically, they're not giving the any error. Somebody also saying this takes a lot of time to fetch the IP. Might be possibility. Somebody, so guys, why the use of INI? By the meantime, guys, they fetch this IP and run it. Okay, maybe very quickly, let me try one more small thing. If they have a EC2 library available, if they have, so they have download install EC2. Let me again comment this. Again, they have EC2, but maybe they are using a different context of this. I'll guys run this if it's not working for some time. Now it's working. Right? That's nice. That's great. That's great. Now it's working right. It is taking some time. It is taking some time, but it will fetch for you. So guys, if you see here, without telling the IP address of my instance. If you see, guys, I don't provide any IP address here. None of my file, but they go to my live OS, my live account, retrieve that. And with guys match here, it's the same IP address, whatever AWS provided to us. So we go to this OS, even though we don't know the IP address, but if you see here, this is exactly same IP address. And now because you know exact IP address, okay, so you can use, you can write a playbook, apply on this IP. If you run apply on all command, they will apply on the IPs. But the challenge come up. Okay, let's say in the AWS cloud, one more great use case I'm going to tell you. So technically is working great. Okay, it is taking some time, but it's working great. There's no challenge. Okay, now because let me tell you one more last use case, very interesting use case. Uh, if you think, okay, right now we have one single IP, so you can write a playbook, write an all host all, so they will apply over here. Okay, but they might possibility obviously in the bigger complex environment you don't have single host here or VM here. Okay, maybe you're running with 100 different OS, but you don't want to configure all the OS with the same way. Maybe 10 OS you want to use for you want to use for I can say you want to use for web server, some of the database server. Okay, so if you use all, they will apply on all the computers. Okay, but I don't want to apply on the customer. And guys, that is the reason we always use a group, group host. Okay, but how can you crypt the group? Because we don't know the IP. And without knowing the IP, how can I write my group? For example, in our computer till date, even though guys this command work, right? See here, this command also work. Okay, but till my computer, guys, this command is very interesting command. 1 minute, I'm showing you the output. Okay, 1 minute. So till date, guys, we have created a group something like this. I'm talking about the host group. Okay, so this is the IP, the group we have created, and you guys know the use of group, right? Okay, group we can manage a similar IP for same thing. Okay, but we can create the group, but without knowing the IP, how can we create the group? So in my local Ansible control node, we can't create a group. And that is the reason, guys, while creating the OS, we have to create a group something like this. What something like this? While creating the OS, right? When you launch the OS in the AWS cloud or any of the OS, every platform, maybe AWS, maybe Kubernetes, every platform give you a facility to tag the OS. Okay, for example, I'm going to give the OS name called my web OS 2. Okay, but here, if you think this OS is a web OS or database OS, or this OS belongs to a country called US, for example, or this OS is managed by a data center in the US called data center 1 or 2. Okay, or maybe this OS your technologies, maybe let's say web server. Okay, why you use this talk OS tag? So technically I'm telling this OS you have one more name, this country equals to US, tag equals to web. Okay, so if somebody want to use you, okay, so they will tell I don't know IP of this OS, but I know one thing, some OS that has tagged with country US, or not one OS, maybe 10 different computer has been tagged with country US. So I want to fetch all the 10 IPs of the computer that has tag country US. I want to found all the IP that has country tag US and data center 1. Okay, or maybe with technology web. So maybe in the country US you have 1,000 computer in data center 2, but only 10 computer web. So give all the computer tag web. And who give this? The guy who will launch the OS for you. And why they give? Because this is a better practice, or get practice we always do. Not in AWS and Kubernetes, every other way we always do this practice or tag. So similar computer, we always give a unique tag. So example, let's say there's 10 computer. All the computer has a tag called web, DC data center called DC2, country called US. So anybody who want to use all those computer, they don't know the IP address, but their name is fixed. And they say, is this point, all the computer have these tags like and, okay, and condition here. Give me the IP of these guys. Okay, give me the IP of these guys. I will to configure them. Okay, and that's what guys going to help us. And that is a reason. That is a reason. Okay, why we need INI file. Okay, this INI file is helping us to managing tag. Okay, so this PY file is behind this in calling this INI, and INI file is fetching all the tag for us. You can think in this way. And that is the reason when you run this command, if you see, okay, this is the one of tag we given. Name equals to LWWeb1, data center equals to South, country equals to India. And what is this? This is the tag name or the group name. So this tag is provided in AWS by the AWS guys. Okay, now what are IP come up? Maybe after reboot, IP change, or maybe 10 more computer coming with country India. But this tag name or group name always fixed. Now what can we do? Now because we know this group name, now if I ask Ansible, can you show me all the IPs? This is all the IPs. But if I say, can you tell me only the IP that has a tag called, for the AWS guys or Kubernetes guys or any other cloud guys, they use a word called tag. But for Ansible, same tag is used for host group. And this is the way we always use the tag. So this tag is always fixed format, tag underscore. Then whatever tag name you give in the AWS, underscore the value you give. This is a fixed format you have to use. Okay, so by chance in my account, I have two OS running. I told you guys this OS we have given a tag called US in the country called US. Okay, even though how can you say? Just click in this name. There's over one setting option here in the top gear icon, and just go down. Okay, 1 minute. I'm just saying the wrong location here. 1 minute, please. So if you go to this OS, okay, and in the setting icons, okay, confirm. 1 minute. Here they're showing you. Yeah, these are tags they are showing you. So these are tags guys we are given. So if I select the country tag, okay, so they start showing you a country. So this OS belong to India, this belong to US. So I can say just go to all the OS of India and configure web server. Go to all the OS of US and go to and configure what do you say database server. Okay. So if you see here, obviously they're taking some time, but right now there's two OS running, but they only fetch the IP of this guy. Why? I don't know IP, but at least I know one thing that is called tag. So in the AWS world, tag is exactly equal to the group name in in uh, in your Ansible. Okay, and that is use of this INI file. This INI file is a kind of information file for the EC2. So there's a one maybe somewhere. There's no code. There's information they are fetching. So you can customize this, read this document. So I'm not going to that much information, but they're getting this information for you. Okay, so you see here, because I say I am looking for all in India country, give the IP. Or I am looking for all the computer belong to US country, or tech equals to web, or team equals to 1, right? So they give those to you. Okay, so this is the way we work. So technically now, if you guys ask the use case that I have given to you, okay, that is you can use Ansible first of all to launch the OS. And guys, whenever you launch the OS called provisioning, but while provisioning OS, we have options to give the tag. Okay, guys, this is a task I've given to you. Tag the OS. And tag the OS, this OS is country US, technology web, technology databases. This called tag. You can give multiple tags. Then second OS option is you to configure dynamic inventory, the way I show you today. And third step is write a playbook to configure the web server. Now this time I want to configure web server in this OS, but I don't know the IP. So dynamic inventory will get the IP by my here hundreds of OS running, which IP they grab. Okay, so I'll tell my playbook, you have to use hyphen host, not in all, not a single IP because we don't know the IP. You have to use the host called tag underscore country underscore India or whatever tag you have done. This tag you have to use. This tag to use. Now, this point in time, this tag under this tag maybe one computer running or 100 computer running. I don't know. Okay, go to AWS, grab all the IP dynamically. Tell to me, I will run the playbook there. So, guys, this is the task I have given to you. Okay, this part I show you already. This one I also showed you already, and this one I want today explaining you. If you write one single playbook for this, okay, entire system will configure dynamically for us. Okay, so guys, this is the almost everything about now. See here, because we take some computer for US, maybe 10 more computer we have for US tag. They give this IP 110 very quickly. If we can confirm 110 working rate. Okay. So guys, this is a concept about dynamic, very important concept, very complex at once, but very much useful, used in all the platform. That's all guys for today. A little bit bigger class, but we discuss a lot. Uh, don't worry guys, if you don't understand 100% out of it, I try to explain a very bit of it, but just at least having this idea, this can be also possible, and that's what we need. That is also very important to know. So guys, tomorrow we don't have a class. First of all, on advance, great and happy new year to all of you guys. But any queries in today's class, you guys can ask. Yes, for Sobit, because scanning, you can use Nmap. Yes, Jatin, you can roll here. After you create the playbook, today our focus is how we get the IP address. That's the only thing. After get the IP, you can run the task, you can attach the roles. That will be your choice. Rahul, to a 358 is not the advanced course. Okay, it is the advanced course for admin guys for RSCS. So they have a lot of concepts. They obviously they have Ansible. Obviously they have Ansible, but their main topic is about admin like DNS, DSCP, mail server, right? So they cover those topics there. Tomorrow guys, we don't have a class. To have class on 1st January, I want to have a class on 1st January, but guys, tomorrow we'll update you, but most probably you have a class on 1st January. No guys, Ansible training is not finished. It's not finished. Okay, two videos guys I have shared with you, some of the concept I recently covered in my last class. So I shared this video yesterday. So I think guys, you've gone through those classes. So some of concept of our Ansible we have discussed there. Today Ansible doesn't support txt file. Somebody asked me today .txt file doesn't support, but till now we are we always give /root /ip.txt because guys, automated detection of the file I use today. Okay, so if you use folder as an inventory and you ask Ansible to go inside and get all the files, there Ansible doesn't support .txt. But if you put any file, if you give directly your inventory file to the Ansible, there you can use any of the extension, all the extension, whatever you think of, they can support. Maybe .ip, more .vimal, or .p1, whatever you do, it will support. If you give the complete path of the file, but in the folder perspective, they only support multiple limited extensions. Yes, Karthik, before 5th January, I will try to complete the. We don't have much portion left actually. Okay. So we will complete Ansible before 5th January. Yes, Abhishek, we will learn Terraform in the Earth. Guys, today concept uh, today concept um, is if you just understand high level, that's more than enough. Especially I'm talking about Earth guys. Okay, a lot of guys are corporate guys here. I think they very much relate to real world use cases for this. But for the Earth guys, don't worry if you don't understand. At least get the idea that we don't know the IP, and dynamic invent is the one who get the IP from automatic for us. That much knowledge is more than enough, right? But after you learn the Kubernetes, this concept we discussed there a lot from very basics, more basics. Okay, you automate relate after some days this concept, right? And then come back to this topic, and then you see it will be so simple for you. Yes, Akansa, that is the right way. Somebody tell, I use here my AWS credential in my command line. The good practice is we have to put everything inside the vault. We can create a variable in the Ansible, we put everything in the vault. That's a good practice to do. Obviously, I can't go for this practical today because it takes some time, but for real world, we have to put AWS credential, login and password in the vault. Please show the network configuration. I don't know, Pankaj, which network configuration you're talking about. But if you're talking about can we use Ansible for the network configuration, answer is yes. But networking, what is a huge right? Which part you're talking about? If Ansible doesn't support TXT file, yeah, I think same question somebody asked me is good question actually you think of. Ansible doesn't support TXT file if you put the TXT file inside the inventory folder. Okay, where you ask Ansible to go and auto find the file name, the way I used here. In this context, if you use folder as a inventory, then Ansible doesn't support uh, doesn't support the txt. Otherwise, if you have txt file, you can give it direct file name. That is the different point. Please show the router configuration. Pankaj, every router has a different way to configure. I think some of my classes, especially my API class, I give the high level idea. For example, if you use Cisco router, so just go and enable HTTP protocol there. Normally, by some of the router, they don't have enable. And if you know how to use API call in the Cisco router, okay, just use that API call in the Ansible, the way I use in my AWS. Okay. Or there's a URI available in the Ansible. You can use the API call URI module, or some Cisco module is already available. Okay, is already available. So if you use Ansible -doc -list and grep for Cisco, you might have a local module available of Cisco routers, ASA firewalls, switches, right? Usage device, VLANs, okay, uh, VRF, right? So I don't know which is a whole different world, even though I've worked a lot in Cisco. Okay, but what exactly you want, you just go and search module available or role available. Just go to Galaxy and just search for Cisco role and apply. Even though I shared my Galaxy video to you, right? How to use the role. Just put the variable, use the role on that IPs. But in Cisco, you're using SSS protocol to use or HTTP protocol, depending on what you enable there accordingly. Just implement. Just try it in this, use this approach, right? Facing any issue in this approach, uh, just connect me in my next class, or maybe in my LinkedIn, just post me where you stuck. I definitely help you. We'll take a session for DO447. Actually, Rahul, DO447, if you know, it is a purely Ansible tower. Right now, we don't have a plan, but definitely if we have, we'll update you in a group, right? If we have a plan for DO447. Yeah, about the examination, exam boot camp, we'll update you guys soon. But let me first complete the content. Very limited topic left. Okay. So what the concept behind the Python grab the IP? Umesh, it is just a by chance. I don't know. Are you part of my AWS classes or not? If yes, I will show you. We will create this code ourselves from the scratch in my AWS cloud. Otherwise, if you're not, uh, they write a Python code. Python code contact the API of AWS, and in the API we have a method that will have a capability to get the IP, to get the IP. So very high level, I can explain this way only. If What if the dynamic event fetch the IP before module run? Yes, Akshit, dynamic inventory run before the module, or before run the playbook actually. Okay, first they get the IP, then they run the module or the playbook. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Your question is, what if after this your instance terminated, or so that time you're obviously, when you run the playbook, if system is not available, so they won't able to connect access. So your playbook itself give the warning or error there. Okay. And that error you can handle with error handling, right? You can use error handling to handle this. Obviously, that point in time when you run the playbook, that will fail. That can also be solved. That there on Ansible doesn't help you. We have to use some kind of triggers and hooks, or maybe you can use Jenkins. Okay, so depend kind of which kind of infrastructure you have. Maybe you can use some CI/CD pipeline. Not for that purpose. CI/CD is for different purpose, but you can, when the instance launch, somebody's keep on checking. All right, like say Jenkins or some other tools, and they will trigger the Ansible to again rerun or wait for some time. So a lot of dynamic configuration we can do. I will also launching as Jenkins training soon. So there, these kind of practicals come a lot. So actually, the very great question you asked me, but Ansible doesn't help you. Maybe if you have Ansible tower that have some capability of hooks and triggers, there's a different point. But as a core level of Ansible doesn't help you. You have to do the error handling. But if you ask, answer wait to system reboot or again rerun, so you have to add some triggers. So if you're taking the class of Ansible tower, no, Prakash, this concept not gonna help you much in the future classes. Don't worry about today class. Uh, will you take Ansible Tower? No, as such, I told you we don't have a plan. But even though I think in the webinar by Srijit, you'll get a lot of idea of Ansible Tower, right? But yeah, definitely if you launch 447 training, we will have a complete training on Ansible Tower if we do. For some reason, I can't ask questions. I joined this call using Zoom OERP. You can ask Chris here. You just type this. Again, you type your question over here. Yeah, I can see your message, Chris, Kris. No, Akhil, SMTP is unsecure protocol is not a perfect way to say. SMTP is a mail protocol. If you can run SMTP on the top of TLS, it make it encrypted. That's okay. Sometimes you call SMTPS. Okay, so SMTP is not. at all unsecure. It's the way you implement. You can run over SSL TLS. Typically, I can say TLS. That makes the things encrypted. What you did in EC2 PY file to run it, I just there's one line number called 172, 172 line number. I commented that line. That's all. So that's it, guys. I think can't be stored in the variable using register keyword after launching the iOS and update. Yes, Pawan, this is one of the approach you can use. But that is approach can also Pawan saying, can we store the OS IP in the variable and then update the inventory? This approach we guys can use only if we use the Ansible to provisioning the new OS. But let's consider this OS here is launched by Terraform and other guys launch, and your duty is to only doing the configuration management. Okay, so that time you don't know, you can't use the variable to store the IP. Okay, there you again you have to use dynamic inventory to get the current IP there. Yes, Prithvi, you have done this task is great, but I think now you understood. So if you fetch the IP, if you use a module, because you launch the OS, so there it is a great, there will be, so for this, you can get the IP while launching the OS, there's a different thing. But if somebody else launch from other tools, we have to use uh, this dynamic inventory. Yes, Rahul, that's what I was thinking. Please take the class on 1st January, but it's always great to have a new year with a great concept. That's what I am also thinking. Initially, we had a plan to have 2 day off, 31st and 1st January, but now I'm thinking, let's have some class on 1st. We will update you guys by tomorrow, so that new year start with a great thing. So that's all, guys, for today. Any question left, we will definitely discuss in the next class. So that's all, guys. See you. Bye. Take care.